blow in the playoffs.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Puck and Leafs podcast. I'm Joe Choss with the boys, Coach Frank and Bobby Bottles, and this is a Game 4 post-game reaction. Boys, I cannot believe what we just witnessed. We sat here a couple days ago after Game 3 saying, you know, that's a game usually the Leafs lose. And again, another game in which they typically lose. Actually, they're usually on the other end of blowing the 4-1 leads, and it was Tampa that completely blew up today. How are you feeling over there, first of all? Because I am over the moon right now. I can't even believe I have a voice right now to do this
Okay,
podcast.
my pulse is back down. We're good. Hey, how can you not be excited? Listen, we did this a couple of years ago when the Leafs had that incredible comeback. I was against Montreal. They took the 3-1 lead on Montreal in dominating fashion, and we thought, this is it, man. Here we go. One more. I've been there before. I'm not falling for it. I'm happy, but I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'll leave it at that.
They did it against Columbus too. Remember, they were down 3 with 5 minutes left against Columbus in Game 4.
That was a pretty
epic comeback as well. And then they ended up not even scoring a goal in the deciding game of that series. Typical Leaf fashion.
Exactly.
I mean, this podcast is not going to be all peaches and roses, because for 50 minutes of that game, we were all ready to just torch these guys. And we're going to have to do a bit of that if we're going to be honest, and we'll get to that. But I went to the doctor today, thought I had strep throat. He's like, no, you don't have strep throat. Your voice is strained or something. He's like, just try not to talk loud. I felt like saying, do you realize the Leafs are in the playoffs right now? A game like that certainly does not help. So there was a point in that second period, I want to point out, where I tweeted out, every game before the game, I wonder in my head, I have a thought in my head, is this going to be the game, the Auston Matthews game, where he completely dominates and takes over a game? I think we just witnessed it, because he literally put the team on his back in that third period and got them right back in the game. And you could tell after he scored that second goal, you could see it in his eyes, like, let's go, boys. We got this. We can get another one. And sure enough, they did. What were your thoughts on Auston Matthews finally coming through? And I know he's put up the points. The points are not what we're talking about. It's something different. It's what McDavid did with the Oilers last year. It's completely taking your team and putting them on your back and taking them for a ride. And that's what he did tonight. What did you think of his performance?
I wish I can get you there too, Joe, but like, I'm sorry, man. I'm still bothered by the start. Actually, I'm bothered by most of the game, where I really didn't hear his name on the perimeter. And somebody made a point. I can't remember who it was on Twitter, but they're like, if you're ever going to compare playoff Matthews to Draisaitl and McDavid, up until that third period, they're universes apart, man. And I have to agree with that. I heard a lot of Kucherov, a lot of Stamkos. I'm talking for the series. Point. They're always a threat to score. If I'm only getting one period of that from Matthews, hey, I'm ecstatic. But if they want to win this series, hell, if they want to move to the next round, you're going to need more than that, Joe. And what I mean by that is Auston Matthews with the takeaways, Auston Matthews lifting sticks, taking pucks, dominating with his body down low. I haven't seen that yet. There's still hopefully one more game left where he can do that at home, but I'm still not there yet. I think there's a lot more there, and I think he knows that too. Maybe the switch with Nylander will force him to do that, because, listen, when Marner's on your line, you expect him to do a lot of the work. Just be in the right spot because the puck is coming your way. And that showed on his first goal. So maybe playing with some new line mates might just change that fortune.
Speaking of the different line mates, Keefe had mentioned before the game, I think he was trying to play a little mind games with the media and the Lightning, hinting at that there might be some lineup changes or some line combo changes. And sure enough, they went with the exact same lines as in Game 3. And in Game 3, they didn't play very well. They were lucky to win. And then finally, after the first period, it makes the switch with Marner going to Tavares' line, Nylander going to his line. Did you have the thought of, like, finally he's making some adjustments here? And did you think it should have been done sooner? Do you think he should have went with a different line combo from the start of the game?
I was carving him up all game on Twitter. Like, I, Joe, when you win a game as a coach, and Robbie, I don't know about you, but like I usually take the stance that you don't criticize a win, right? You don't. You take the win, you learn from it, you move on. They were awful in game 3, like awful. That second line was not giving you any offense. Hell, for the last 3 years, has not been giving you any offense. What makes you think in a must-win game for Tampa, in game 4, with pretty much your season on the line, you go back to that line and think you're going to get something different? Nylander has not been himself for the last maybe 3 weeks of the season, right? This was your chance to try something new and get a hot start, maybe something different, a new energy, something, and he didn't do it. And you almost lost the game because of it. You got lucky again, right? So now with last change, I would be stunned if those lines look the same as games 3 and 4. But then again, I'm here and Keith is there. But so
for some reason, Tavares and Nylander just don't mesh well together.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. No, we've seen enough of it that it doesn't. Bobby, what were your thoughts? I know you got some takeaways that you wanted to get to. So
yeah, I'm going to piggyback on a few things Frank said. So first of all, Matthews, I thought in the second period, actually, he had some shifts where it was like one really good shift and then quiet, and then another really good shift and quiet. And I was thinking, man, he's just got to get more consistent with that, because he is, like, we talk about Kucherov being almost borderline unstoppable. Austin's the same thing, man. The guy is when he's moving his feet and he's engaged, he's as good a player as there is in the league. Take a win. That's the one thing I'm going to say. They don't ask you how, they ask you how many. They're up 3-1. But I like to be critical. I was curious to hear your guys' opinion, because when it was 4-1, I was thinking to myself, which one of these teams was the higher seed that hasn't won a playoff game, hasn't won a playoff series in 15, 16 years?
I wish it was that short, Bobby.
and which one of these teams is the team that's coming off 3 consecutive trips to the Stanley Cup Finals? Shouldn't one of those teams have far more urgency and hunger to win than the other? It just seems like Tampa has been so much more hungry and so much more urgent, even in these 2 games especially, that I sit there and go, do the Leafs, do they have any self-awareness of what's going on right now? That this core's been together for 6 years now, and they still have not won a playoff series. They stole a game they shouldn't have won. You think they're going to come out and come guns a-blazing, right? This is their game to take over and put their. We talked about, I think Frank said it. Maybe you, Joe. Put your foot on the neck and just choke out an opponent that's down. And they just let Tampa dictate physically how that game was going to be played.
Are we not selling Tampa short though? Like, again, like you mentioned, this is a team that went to the Stanley Cup Final 3 years in a row. And yeah, they didn't have a great regular season, but they don't give a you-know-what about the regular season. So yes, they can flip the switch because they know how to flip the switch. They're a great team. They're not just going to roll over and die. So yeah, the Leafs can try harder and all that, but the Lightning have championship character and pedigree. I understand the frustration, but they're a great team too. So you got to expect them to be good too.
They're a good team. Like, I don't think this is not the same team that played 3 years ago, and they're injured.
It's not. You're right.
And
but they're still very good.
They're still good,
and
but
very well coached. I hate John Cooper, but they're very well coached.
You have to earn that right, though. They've earned that right to not care and flip the switch when they can. It's catching up to them now.
But don't you think that some complacency is going to set in? Like, they've got to the top of the mountain. They've got everything. They have so much less to play for in this series than the Leafs. That's the only thing I'd say as a Leaf fan.
It's a fair point. Yeah, it's fair.
Joe, can you explain the good, the bad, and the Leafy? Because I have a Leafy for people that don't know the segment.
Okay, so we often during the regular season do a segment where it's the good, the bad, the Leafy. So one good thing that you really liked that they've been doing, one bad thing that you didn't like, and then one Leafy thing. So for fans that are unaware, we often say, "Oh, that's so Leafy," and what that basically means is it's something that only ever happens to the Leafs.
Can I give a Leafy?
Absolutely.
They go and steal 2 games, and they win this game in heroic fashion, and now they get the extra day's rest. And maybe what would have been so much better to have, to play if they could have tomorrow. I mean, to kind of keep this momentum rolling. They get that extra day off just to sit and let that kind of momentum just slow down a little bit more. I just started laughing when it's like, man, if this game's Wednesday, it'd be interesting to see how they come out. Maybe they come out a little bit more fired up, but now they have to wait till Thursday and just an extra day of settling down.
I would look at that's fair. I would look at it the other way, Rob. I think it's an extra day for them to prepare. I think this has to stay in Tampa's head for an extra day because they are in uncharted territory right now. No team has beaten Tampa 3 times in a row, let alone that crazy record Vasilevsky had, before the Avalanche did it of like 17-0. Now up until the last game, he was 22-2 or something like that after a loss. We are seeing him at his worst. So an extra day for that to settle in. You know what? I think I'll take the break knowing that it's a home game. If it was an away game, Robbie, would have been with you totally. The fact that they have to now travel to Toronto to do it, and if you guys have looked at the splits in their regular season, I know it's a different thing, but they are a different team on the road than they are at home. So they are much better at home than they are on the road. So I'll leave it at that.
What if this is less about Vasilevsky and more about the Leafs just find ways to score goals on this guy? They're
scoring a lot of goals from shots from the point. Just trying to get pucks through, which is what we've been saying for years from them trying to do. Stop trying to be cute and pass it around the perimeter. Get the puck to the net. And they're finally doing it and being rewarded for it.
I can think of right off the top of my head, the Achari goal today, their first goal, the Achari goal, the Matthews goal, and the Kerfoot goal. 3 goals, shots from the point, tipped in or screened in front. There's got to be a recipe there, right?
And the Riley goal, the tying goal.
Yeah, well, yes, I meant yes, the Riley goal.
Right.
So that's 4,
You talk about Riley. What about Ryan O'Reilly? I hate the term winner. I'm not a big guy like, oh, this guy's a winner. But is this guy not such a gamer? Like that first goal, what a play to take. Who takes the puck off Kucherov like that?
Yeah.
This guy is just a complete gamer, and I'm on the bandwagon. I'm in the fan club, but this guy.
Let me ask you this. Let's say the Leafs go ahead and blow this series and lose. Does the O'Reilly acquisition, which I think is Kyle Dubas's best thus far in his tenure, does that alone make you want to bring him back, even if they blow it?
He won't sign back. He'd probably say, I did all I can, and I can't do anymore. No, seriously, I'm being honest. honest.
I like.
You know what my fear is, Joe? Here's my fear. Okay, my fear is Toronto gets past Tampa, they lose to Boston, and he signs with the Bruins in the offseason. Is he not a Boston Bruin? If he wasn't a Leaf, can you not see that kind of in a Bruins jersey? That's my nightmare scenario.
I was actually referring to Kyle Dubas. Do you think they still?
I meant O'Reilly.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about O'Reilly too.
Yeah, obviously I want them to re-sign O'Reilly, but do you think that acquiring him in the first place, because it was such a great move, if he's able to re-sign him, do you think they just keep Dubas? He's had a great deadline. All the acquisitions that they've made, Lafferty maybe, but the other guys have been great. I think even with a terrible result here in this first round, I think they should keep him.
Well, Joel, look.
Maybe not the coach.
You're virtually bringing back, let's take aside any major moves. You're essentially bringing back this playoff roster next year. Minus your free agents if you can sign them, but like all the guys pretty much you've acquired are eligible to come back, right? So it's Dubas's team that he's made, but yeah, Joe, I personally I think there's a contract there. I just don't think they want to make it how often do you see in season?
Yeah, you're not going to see it now during the playoffs. They don't want a distraction like that. But I just want to touch on the shots from the point we were mentioning earlier. Frankie, you said you heard Derek Lalonde, the ex-Lightning assistant coach, now head coach of the Red Wings, who's on the Sportsnet feed.
Yes.
He mentioned something about what the Lightning noticed about Vasilevsky.
Yeah. So he says when he was a coach there, they said that we did a study, and this is quote, we did a study. Vasilevsky, was one of the lower percentage goalies in finding pucks from the point. We had to change our entire D zone coverage.
Interesting.
And tips too. I think he talked about tips as well. Those tip like where. Isn't that wonderful though? Like for as good as Tampa is, they're looking at their weaknesses. Isn't that how you improve? Like, I love that. I always tell parents like, you don't always look at the strengths, look at the weaknesses because those are the things you have to work on. If you know your weaknesses, that gives you such an advantage against everybody else because you know what they're going to attack, and they. I think it's so wonderful that you know.
Yeah, I think it's so wonderful too, Bobby, that a team tries to get better by improving on their weaknesses. What an amazing concept.
It's amazing, right? But like you don't hear a lot of teams doing that. Like that's I guess that's why they've been to 3 cups and there's 3 straight Stanley Cup.
And you're a coach, Bobby, and you don't try to do that, improve on your weaknesses.
No, but like so often we don't talk about them. So often.
I want to get into some like so things or some not so good things because, you know, I know we're all hyped up and stuff, but like, let's focus on the task at hand here. But yeah, go ahead.
Can I say the good?
No.
Out of the good, the bad, and the leafy?
Yeah.
The good. The power play came up with 2 huge goals, and their power play stunk for the first couple periods. It was awful. They couldn't even gain the zone. And I tweeted out, like, can we not try something different than the drop pass, which everybody in the world, all 20,000 fans, the million people watching from home, everybody knows it's coming. Try something different. Try dumping it in if they're all standing at the blue line. And it seemed like they were able to enter the zone a little bit better those last couple power plays. But even the last power play in overtime, they didn't have a great deal of success. But again, just get the puck to the net. And credit to Alex Kerfoot, who we rag on a lot, cost them the series last year in Game 6, comes up with a huge goal. I'm really happy for him. So that's the good right there. Now the bad, and there's a lot of it. So Frankie, why don't you kick us off right there?
All right. I'll give you my good, though, just so I can join the party here.
Absolutely.
Matthew Nyes, easy, but
love him.
He has been on the ice for both overtime goals 4, right? And that save off the line was a game saver, a huge play if you look at from the grand scheme of things. So credit to him in an arena that he lost the NCAA championship. And he said he hates Amalie Arena. So good on Nyes. Lastly,
lost in overtime.
Gamer.
And wasn't on the ice during that loss.
He's a gamer.
Ilya Samsonov is approaching legend status in Toronto. Again, was not great in the first, but held it together.
Timely.
And you got to give the guy credit, man. It's not an easy market to play in, especially in your first playoff start for the Leafs. So, but until he gets 4, he's on Jack Campbell on the same level right now. But I just say credit to Samsonov, who I'm sure is going up against his countryman there. And Vasilevsky is pretty intimidating, but good on him.
I think Samsonov follows the Grant Fuhr goaltending school, where it's, you'll let him 4, but don't allow the 5th.
Exactly. The bad. There was considerably a lot of bad before that third period. That neutral zone. Credit Tampa Bay. Man, do they know how to shut a neutral zone down. Tampa Bay has the ability to make the other team play their style of game. And nobody really can play like Tampa, maybe Boston. Toronto had nothing going in the neutral zone. In fact, in the first period, if you would have saw the expected goals, all 3 lines were 0, 0.5, 0.1. That is pure domination by the Tampa Bay Lightning. So that neutral zone, I don't know what happened. I was listening to some of the background of the post-game interview. Stamkos like, yeah, we let up. We gave him the neutral zone. Well, thank you very much. The neutral zone to me is where you win hockey games. You control the neutral zone, you win the game. Tampa controlled it for 2 periods. They didn't do it in the third, and the Leafs took advantage of it, right? So, but if they want to establish a win the next game, they have to take back the neutral zone. They have to make outlet passes. Not having Timothy Liljegren in the lineup is a guy who can move the puck. You are really hurting back there with guys who can move the puck out of their zone. I see it. It's a big weakness right now. So I'm hope somehow they can figure that out because Tampa's going to try to play an ugly road game. Again, they're going to try to muck it up again in Toronto and try to suck the Leafs into penalties. And what better ways to frustrate them in the neutral zone? So I think that's one thing they got to fix. And secondly, for me, I don't know if he's hurt. I've been a big fan of this guy since he's been here. But TJ Brody better figure shit out soon because I really hope it's an injury because he was nursing some stuff before the end of the year. But he has looked horrendous in the last 3 games. So I don't know, man. Something's gotta give here. I don't know if it's. I hope it's not anything that we gotta rest him, but they need him. He's logging a lot of minutes.
Would you put Liljegren in for Hall? Because Hall, I think, has been on the ice for like 11 goals against or something. I saw a stat
I was going
like
to leave that to somebody. It was an easy one, but I'll let somebody else take that. But Joe, I think the stat is 11-2. Been on for 11 goals against and 2 for. That is not good. If anybody can figure that out, they're going after that pairing. And Giordano hasn't looked that great either.
No, he struggled a little bit as well. Yep.
Yeah, man. You know what, Joe? I would get him in. Liljegren, for me, that is a change I'd make. Not for the sake of making a change, Joe. You know, if Hall blocks shots, hey, that's great. Shen blocks shots. Liljegren blocks shots. McCabe blocks shots. For me, it's an easy change to make. So that's the one change I would make.
So you talk about how Tampa was controlling the neutral zone. I noticed that as well, and I was trying to figure out and watch the game and trying to analyze how they're doing it. One of the things I notice is they have a guy that's kind of blowing the zone or that trying that flick pass, you know, that deep stretch pass, and it's kind of backing the Leafs D up, which is opening up space in the neutral zone for them to carry the puck in, because it seems like they're entering the zone way easier than the Leafs are.
Yep.
And then conversely, when the Leafs have the puck, Tampa's D is the gap is so tight. And then you have the forwards who are back checking so hard. It's like a wall squeezing together. Correct. You have no space in front of you and there's no space behind you. And they're getting squeezed up every time. So how do you avoid that? Do you got to try to dump the puck in more and have a guy getting in the zone with speed? Because I know the Leafs want to enter the zone with the puck. I get it. Yep. But how do you beat a team when they're controlling the neutral zone the way they are like that?
I have a simple answer for you. Nylander, I don't know if you noticed, Nylander did it. Actually, it may have led to it was near the end of the third period. If you noticed, Nylander he was having trouble getting into the zone for most of the game. He would come to the red line and flip the puck onto Vasilevsky. You're saying, well, why would you do that? Where's the one area that the Leafs are absolutely dominating Tampa right now?
Face-offs.
Face-offs. How many goals have come off face-offs in the offensive zone? There's only one way to get offensive zone time, Joe, winning face-offs in the offensive zone. So there's one play. If you can just get it on net and force a face-off, Joe, it's been working. Why not? Right? The only other way to do is, somehow the Leafs have to try to get to the wall and chip it deep and go get it. And that's not their game, right? Are they going to fundamentally change the way that they play? They just might have to. Maybe Bunting could help with a little bit of that, knowing he could be back in the lineup next game. But you need guys like Bunting, like Aston Reese, like Lafferty, Nylander, maybe not as much because he hasn't done it, but O'Reilly, winning battles on dump it and go get it. Win the corner battles. Tampa's been doing it all series. The Leafs did it in one game 2. Right? So maybe it is a dump and chase or a dump and retrieve and play the possession game in the ozone.
I think they've gone to a little bit of a 1-3-1-2 though, which is it can be hard to dump against.
Tampa does that quite a bit. You're right.
Yeah, so it's hard because they have that 1D back that goes to puck retrieve. It's hard. It's a hard system to break down. You got to get the lead. That's the best way to shut that down.
But you know what, Rob? You know what has frustrated me? The Leafs have now played them in 11 games in 2 years. Are you telling me you have not figured that out yet?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's not passable anymore. It's not an excuse anymore. You know what I mean? You have to figure that out. You've played the same team 11 times. You know that they're going to shrink the neutral zone. And I look right at the core 4 up until the third period. I look right at the core 4 because Achari and O'Reilly have proven what they brought. They brought depth scoring, something the Leafs have not had in the last 2 years. Where has Matthews and Marner and Nylander been up until that third period in overtime? So, let's see what happens next game.
They put up the points that you want, but they not necessarily taken over games like we've seen in the regular season. And that's what we expect of them because they're good enough to do that. Like if I keep having to hear, the Leafs have to get Matthews away from Cirelli. Why? Matthews is way better than Anthony Cirelli. Cirelli's a good player. Don't get me wrong. Very good defensively. But Austin Matthews is in a whole different stratosphere, and it should not matter. When they see Cirelli go over the boards, they should be like, oh, great. I'll put Matthews on against that matchup, and we should win it 8 times out of 10, I would think. So it happened in the third period. I agree with you. It needs to happen more consistently.
Can we end off here on a positive?
Of course. Please. It's positive Monday, baby.
Positive Monday. They're up 3-1. You're going home. They need a good start. I think we all agree. Start on time. There, Frankie. Look at Coach. He's getting a little excited hearing that. But those are the kind of wins that, if they are able to go on a long run, those are ones you look back on and say, "Man, that was huge." And hopefully, for your guys' sake, we get to look back on this and say that was maybe like where the snowball started to grow a little bit.
Indeed.
So I want to end off on a question for me. Very simple answer. Bunting, is he in or is he out? And if he's in, who comes out?
Has to be in. Come on, has to be.
I'm just asking. I'm not.
To me, I don't know what the lines look like, but I'm taking Lafferty out. He hasn't really done enough for me to warrant his spot. I'm putting Bunting in. Maybe I put Bunting in on that fourth line and just go up against Tampa's fourth line and make them go nuts. Just be a pest and make them get off their game, take some stupid penalties. Make them take the stupid penalties, not you be the one to take the stupid penalty. You really got to drill that down to him, because I like Yarncroke with Matthews and Matthew Nyes. You're not going to switch that lineup, and I don't want to touch the third line either, to be honest.
Yep.
So,
simple answer for me: Bunting is in, and I'll tell you where he's going to play. If O'Reilly can get Nyes playing the way he did and giving and making sure that he's accountable on his line, Bunting is going right beside O'Reilly and Acciari on the third line, which moves Kerfoot down to fourth line with Kampf and Lafferty, and which means by process of elimination, Aston Reese comes out. Yarncroke will go with Matthews and Nylander, and then you have Nyes, Tavares, and Marner.
We shall see. All right, boys. Wow, what a night. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fall asleep. I'm so pumped up and excited.
I'm going to go watch the highlights again and again.
Maybe about 30 times for good measure.
The best part of all this, guys, my son fell asleep and it was 4-1 in the second intermission. He has no idea.
Oh, it's going to be like Christmas morning when he wakes up.
Put those, actually, I'm going to find a game where the Leafs played Tampa and lost. I can show him the highlights.
Oh, don't do that to the kid. No.
Let's see what happens. Oh, I love it. I can't wait to see his reaction in the morning.
All right.
Speaking of morning, I will be on. If you guys watch this tonight, I'll be on tomorrow morning with Mike Richards on Saga 960 at 8:10. So if you're watching this tonight, we're going to be doing it again in the morning. So can't wait. And it's Thursday. Let's get ready for Thursday.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. We really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and drop us a comment below. How pumped are you after that result? And how pumped are you for Thursday as the Leafs try to wrap up their first series in nearly 20 years? I'm Joe Choss with the boys, the Puck and Leaf Sports Pod. Have a great night, everyone, and let's go Leafs.